So it's March of 2025. And if you have not gotten on the bandwagon of artificial intelligence and the way that it impacts searches and search results for your leads, namely your motivated seller leads, or really anybody else that's trying to discover about you and your brand, then I think you're missing out big time. I'm releasing this episode a little early in terms of the order in which I recorded, because I think it's going to be very important. So we're going to actually have back-to-back episodes where today's episode is going to be about the same topic as next week's episodes, but the execution and delivery of the way that the guests actually explain what GEO, which I'll get into that in a minute, which is artificial intelligence search, the way they explain it is like similar but different, and the execution slightly different in the way that they kind of develop the landscape of their marketing really around this. So the topic today is going to be GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. So you've heard the term SEO, which is search engine optimization. And on this episode, I have a very mind-blowing experience because I really haven't dug into this with any guest or even me specifically much at all. I've kind of known the bells and whistles of the way that search works with artificial intelligence. And today we go deep into that. There's even one point where I share my screen and I had done a little search on ChatGPT. I live right outside Chicago, so I just did a search of I live in Chicago and I need to sell my house. Who should I sell it to? And then I gave a little bit of the symptoms. So I need to sell it fast. I need a cash offer. I want to sell it as is. And it brought up some results. And the way that it brought it up was delivering it to me directly, where I didn't really have to filter through the results. It just said, go to this person to sell your house. And that was pretty impactful, because if we're looking at AI being a useful tool for everyday use for everybody, which it's going to be, then this is going to be so important, guys. And SEO is just going to be kind of scraping the surface of it, whereas AI is going to be a very big portion of the way people utilize search and actually get answers to the questions, which, obviously when it comes to search engines, they're basing it on content, and the content that's going to be on your websites, your YouTube channels, your Google My Business pages, all that stuff. And that's all fed through the content, reviews, videos, blog articles, all that kind of stuff, resources. And so we go deep into that today on the episode. I've got my good friend, Matt Bigach, who is, I'm going to read his bio here, but he is a co-founder of Nexus Homebuyers and also Reibar Marketing. Now, he is just a very intelligent person, and he explains it in a way that really just blew my mind. So I'm very excited to have him on the show. He's going to be talking about this the whole time. And this is something that's kind of been introduced to me while we're on the show here. And I think it's going to be a really big game changer for a lot of people moving forward. So I highly, highly encourage you to pay close attention, write down your action items, and get to work on this. A lot of this is just going to be based around action taking with developing content, developing your presence online, and actually utilizing that stuff as marketing, but as resources to your sellers so that you come up when somebody does search, sell my house in whatever market you're in. So without further ado, my good friend, Matt Bigach. Enjoy, guys. Welcome back to the REI Marketing Weekly. It's your host, Josh Culler, and I have a very exciting topic for you guys that it's one of those things where I've known I wanted to talk about this. I just didn't know how to actually formulate the idea itself and bring on an actual expert in this, or actual person that's kind of executing these type of things that we're going to be talking about. And we've got Matt Bigach on the show here, and I'm really excited, Matt, because today we're going to be talking about it. I don't know if you haven't done this yet, you need to coin this term if it's coinable, but GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization. And so you guys know SEO, search engine optimization, and we've had several guests on the show that have talked about that and how they're executing it and that sort of thing. So that's a widely, there's a lot of information and a vast amount of knowledge that's out there about SEO. But obviously one of the things that is no secret that's really hit the forefront of not just the digital marketing space, but just how humans live on a normal basis nowadays is the, enactment of artificial intelligence. And I'm first of all, Matt, I am I really do want you to kind of explain what the GEO actually means, like if you gave it a definition. But I would also like to, curiosity's sake, because when we replace the G from the S, search is search. Like we know what search is. Right. My curiosity would be why generative? What does that mean, right? Like typically we have kind of a clear definition of that. So briefly give us a breakdown of what that looks like.
Yeah, so basically generative engine optimization is just optimizing your content for AI search tools. So it can be something like ChatGPT, it can be something like Perplexity, it can be Gemini. These sorts of tools kind of have their own different algorithms to come in and search and bring up results for your query. And so a lot of them do still use search engines. So we've got a couple ways that we can kind of work on that and optimize those. But GEO is kind of relatively new. So we're still kind of piecing together a lot of the things. But it's really kind of going to be the forefront. And I think here in the next coming months, you're really going to see a lot of this kind of shift towards GEO and these AI tools, as opposed to traditional SEO. And not saying that traditional SEO won't be important. Of course it will be. But we're kind of starting to see that a little bit. Google's losing a little bit of market share in traffic for the first time ever, which is pretty incredible. So I think some of these tools are kind of making a dent in that.
So just out of curiosity's sake, from my standpoint too, I think one of the shifts that's been very interesting to see from Google, and we'll combine Google and YouTube as a whole, is how search engine optimization is switching from like text-based searches to content as a whole. So you have like video content coming up, you have articles and like all kinds of different types of content that come up. Typically when people are looking, especially how-tos, like how to, invest in real estate or how to wholesale real estate, they're going to YouTube University, right? Or they're pulling up shorts and that sort of thing. Great example is I'm a big iced chai latte fan, and I just discovered how to make homemade iced chai lattes on a YouTube short, and it's amazing. So I'll never go to, like, I actually did the recipe and it was perfect. So that kind of stuff is very intriguing to me, obviously, because of me being in the content space. Does that have any relevance in this space specifically when we talk about the GEO functions? Is content going to be a big deal?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that kind of goes into how we're expanding as business owners in the real estate space. Instead of just saying we're going to write a blog post or, we're just going to build a website, it's now coming down to, can we create videos to kind of explain these sort of things? And some of this has been done in the past where you're writing a blog post and you go and you take a video about that blog post and you embed it, and that blog post starts doing better in rankings.
Yeah.
Because you're keeping people on the page longer, engaging them. All those sorts of things are great. But as this kind of starts to expand, you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see videos. You're going to see listicles. You're going to see, content pieces. It's not just going to be just about blogs. So you make a great point. As business owners, we're going to have to expand. We're going to have to diversify into different assets. And it's not only going to be just a website and maybe a couple of videos, for testimonials. It's now you're going to be creating a video about how to sell your house in foreclosure, how to sell your house in a divorce, and giving someone a tangible item. And part of that comes down to, everybody digests content in different ways, right? Some people like podcasts, some people like reading a book, some people like going to a website. And so creating all those different types of content are going to be crucial kind of moving forward, not only for GEO, but just for your users and for people visiting your site in general.
Yeah, for sure. So on this podcast, I make it a point to make sure that we're not like just conceptualizing information, that sort of thing. Like we have actual action steps. From a practicality standpoint, what are some things that people can start doing to start taking action on this whole GEO kind of movement? And what are like the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s of how to actually get started in this so they can get ahead of the curve and start working on it?
Yeah, so GEO takes a lot of its principles from SEO, and like we said, a lot of the information is pulled from the search engines in general, because ChatGPT is pulling from Bing. Obviously, Gemini is pulling from Google. Claude doesn't have their web access yet, but it's coming soon. And so a lot of these things, and then Perplexity has their own algorithm, but a lot of these things are still focusing on the EEAT, the big SEO terminology that came out for Google's update: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust.
Yeah.
So those things have got to be crucial on your website. It's no longer just, does your content speak to your user and you have a couple backlinks and a little bit of information on your site. It's, are you featured on prominent blogs everywhere? Is your name everywhere? Do you have videos? Are you featured as a resource and you know what you're talking about? Because Google takes all this into account, and now these GEOs are taking this into account as well. So action steps for sure, making sure that you're getting featured on prominent blogs. It's not only just real estate specific, but getting featured on things like Realtor.com, Business Insider. You can go out and do one of my favorite tools now. It used to be Harrow, but Harrow's been shut down, is Quoted. So Quoted is a very similar tool to Harrow. You go out and people are looking for responses to questions, just like Harrow. So you can go and submit a pitch and you can get featured on some pretty incredible blogs for free. That's going to kind of help with that authority because, now you're seen on, maybe it's Home and Garden, or maybe you're seen on these large blog posts with tons of following, tons of traffic, and tons of links. That's going to help significantly. Also making sure that your content answers your user's question. It's not only about how to sell a house in foreclosure, how to sell a house in bankruptcy. If you're local to an area, we're in Knoxville, so I just talk about Knoxville. It makes the most sense. But, if you say like, best things to do in Knoxville, or, some things that you can do in cities around Knoxville, those type of things are really creating local relevancy.
Yep.
And so it's creating a whole picture about your business and how much you can solve problems. So kind of expanding upon our typical, everyday things that we hear about the different situations that people are selling in, and then creating trust around that. Some other things that you can do as well is make sure that your content is very concise. A lot of times we kind of, as SEOs and business owners in general, tend to over-optimize content, and we make a 2,500, 3,000 word blog post. Sometimes just keep it short, keep it simple, keep it right to the point, and answer the question that someone's looking for. Because a lot of times in the AI SERPs, they'll just pull that specific query, and then you're going to be featured in that little card. People will be able to search directly to your website, and you'll get organic traffic from that. Because as more and more of these things pop up, especially on Google, being in those cards is going to be crucial. Mm-hmm. And, it seems like things that are below that are being left out. We're kind of seeing a little bit of that. If your blog post is ranking well in AI and also in organic, you're seeing a lot of traffic from it. If you're not ranking in the cards, but maybe you're ranking well in organic, you're not seeing as much from it. It's not a huge difference, but we are noticing some of that coming through. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and like we talked about earlier, the multi-format content, making sure you're making videos. If you have a YouTube channel, start filling it up. And, it doesn't have to be, this incredible hour-long video. Just start making simple videos of you at a property saying, hey, we just bought this property, here's a seller, and just start filling your YouTube channel up, because a lot of those things are going to come into play and say, hey, this person's actually out here doing this business. They've got 20, 30, 40 videos about these different topics. And all of that's going to come together to make you an authority figure in the eyes of these search engines.
Interrupting this podcast episode to tell you guys that this podcast is managed and produced by Color Media Productions. Yes, shameless plug, that's my company. However, we do this for a lot of other people as well. Most people that we work with are in the real estate investing space. So if you're listening to this podcast specifically, you probably are a real estate investor, given it's called the REI Marketing Weekly. If you're somebody that either wants to start a podcast or you have one going and it's becoming a little bit of a hassle, you're looking to transition to somebody that works a little bit better with a fluid motion in terms of you get the recordings done and then they do everything else. Well, that's what we do. We do fully managed podcasts from start to finish, video, audio, show noting, the graphics, publishing, everything that goes into it. It's a full service business that we run here in a service for you as a real estate investor if you are running a podcast. Additionally, we also do social media and YouTube management as well. So all of that being on the organic side, if you are interested in learning more about working with us and just recording content with guidance and strategy set by myself personally, and then not doing anything else after that, where we're taking care of everything from start to finish, then make sure you go check us out at colormedia.com, CULLER media.com. Hit us up there and we can learn more about working together, hop on a phone call and see what we could do for you. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, so one of the last things you mentioned there is authority figure. So the whole time you're explaining this, I'm thinking like my number one word that I use in marketing, but especially in content marketing, because, you speaking my language, being in the content space, is the word relevance. I think it's like an underutilized word in the marketing world. And one of the lessons that really has to come away from this is the purpose of AI. Like if we look at the dynamics between just like going to Google and searching something and then we go find our own source of information. So Google's job, YouTube's job when we search for something is to lay out options for us to choose from. Whereas AI is giving it to us straight in the way that we prompt and ask it.
So the dynamic between the two is that AI is going to be built and already is built to literally be able to sustain the prompts, the questions that we're asking as the users, and giving it to us directly, as opposed to us being able to go choose our own options. So because of that, if we're creating content that's able to feed that algorithm that's extremely relevant to the user itself, then yeah, AI is going to push our type of content in front of them and give them the solutions and give them the options. So I think, I mean, you mentioned, I think, in the world of, if, the primary listener that's listening to this podcast is an active investor, maybe you're, marketing to generate motivated seller leads or whatever it is, build your brand. And I think a lot of people kind of scoff at the idea of, like, you specifically mentioned, like, being featured in Home and Garden and being in blogs and stuff like that. Guys, that's what being a local authority is. That's truly what it is that you're creating relevance, because sellers are going to be like, if a seller is, wanting to sell their house and they know they need to update their house because maybe they're going to list it and they're not aware of being able to sell their house cash as is yet, they're going to be going to some of these places in the resources to be able to discover how to fix the roof, how to fix the toilet. Like, that's where so if you're ending up on those spots and you're creating a relevant kind of search query for what you have to offer and what their need is, then hell yeah, you're going to be able to bring leads in and build authority, brand, and just complete credibility in your marketplace. And I think that's why this is so powerful, is because AI is eliminating the options that Google would give a searcher. And now they're just presenting, like, here's the answer. There's no options. Here's the answer to the question that you have. You're in probate and you're asking how to get out of it. Here's the answer to that. And that's what it's given you.
Yeah, right. Spot on. And something else too that we didn't really touch on is that, ChatGPT specifically will store answers from credible sources. So a lot of times it'll go in, it'll do a web search, but sometimes you'll go in and type something in, you notice it won't search. It's got that answer stored, and it tends to store that from credible sources. So if your website becomes a credible source in your market or in your state, these GEOs are going to pull from that. And so, and someone's going to type in, what are the steps to sell a house in probate in Tennessee? And if your website, has that authority, it has that relevance, then you're going to show up without even having to do a Google search or a Bing search in this case. So that's powerful in and of itself. And then to touch on what you talked about, not only is it being featured in that, but it's also the things on your website that you can say, hey, we were featured in these blogs, featured on Home and Garden, Realtor.com, whatever it may be. And that all just kind of adds to your authority piece. It's creating this image for your brand, for your website, and all of that kind of ties in together because, they make the good point of, would you rather take advice from someone who's never been featured on any website or someone who's been featured in 15 or 16 publications? That person probably knows a little bit more about what they're talking about, or at least we hope they do. So, getting on those publications is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Something interesting. Dude, as we're talking about this, my mind just got blown. So I never do this on my podcast. Let me see here. I never do this on my podcast. So if you guys are listening on the audio version, I want you to switch over, go to the video version on my YouTube channel. I want you to see, oh man, this is game changing. Okay. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, here's what we got here. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to try to explain it to you as best as I can. I've never done this before on my show, but as Matt was talking about this, I'm like, I have to test this. So I open up ChatGPT, and here's what I typed in. The prompt I gave it was, I live in Chicago. I need to sell my house as is and get paid cash. Who do I sell to? The answer that it gave back was, if you're looking to sell your Chicago home as is for cash, several reputable companies specialize in purchasing properties in any condition, offering quick, hassle-free transactions. Here are some to consider. First option and only option that it gives me right here, and unless I scroll over, Matt, but I'm not going to do that, is the Express Property Solutions.
Who do you think's getting most of the clicks?
You get what I'm saying? This is crazy. This is insanity. So I think this is, this is a light bulb moment for me. So
And a lot of that, I think, will continue to evolve, and we may see different designs and things like that. But the biggest thing that we also didn't touch on is reviews. I know we preach this a lot and we say that, but before the show, I was actually checking, one of our companies, and I actually went in and I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, who would you sell to in this area? And it pulled up 5 companies, but one of the ones that said ours was number 1 because it said they've been in business since 2017. They have a 4.9 on Google. Oh, and they've also been BBB accredited. It pulled that directly from the internet and from its search. So, I like to think that has a large portion to do with it as well. So not only is it just the content, but it's also making sure you're reviewed on all these different sources.
Yeah.
Make sure you're getting reviews on Facebook. Make sure you're getting reviews on BBB. Make sure your Google profile is getting reviews, because, these algorithms are smart enough to go in and find these things. And
absolutely.
So, it's a whole, kind of collective piece that we're trying to put together, instead of just, I'm going to do some blogs. Oh, I'm going to buy a website, or hey, I'm just going to do this. You got to work on all of it because you want to be seen as that authority figure. So, creating that is crucial.
I gotta say, Matt, this is probably, I don't know, I can't say the first, but maybe this is like one of the most impactful episodes that I've had in terms of like a massive shift in my mindset when it comes to search versus AI, like what you're calling GEO, right? I think the prompting, just that example that we gave alone, like that should blow everybody's mind and shift all of your thinking to that, because this is where it's going. We are talking about, how long has ChatGPT actually been really in existence and usable? Like 2 years, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
It hasn't been that long, and it's just been a titanic shift. I know most business owners I talk to use it almost daily.
And I used it 30 times, man. Yeah, like all the time.
And it's, I think it's starting. It's kind of like, when cell phones first came out. They started with the younger population, and everyone who was young and hip wanted to have one. But I think, with time, things will grow, and you'll start seeing 40, 50, 60-year-old people using these tools daily. It's just one of those things that they've got to shift, and they've got to use it more often. But the simplicity of these tools is just unbelievable compared to something like Google, because so many search results. I mean, we were talking about this before, was, you get so many results that aren't always relevant to what you're looking for.
And you're not sure what's credible either.
That's right. Yeah. And you've got to go and decipher on your own and say, okay, well, is this an affiliate website where they're just pushing these links, to get a payment, or is this actually a legitimate business? You got to go to BBB, you got to go to Google. But I think in the future, this is going to change. And it's coming, whether we like it or not. I think, it's hard to put a timeline on when it's coming, but I think the sooner you start working on this in your business, the further you're going to be ahead, because ultimately there's going to be people that implement this stuff, and they're going to crush everyone that doesn't.
Absolutely.
Because, when you start getting behind on these type of things and people have a year, 2 years ahead of you, it's a lot to catch up in a short time. And so, just continue to focus on these things and build the authority of your website and create that asset long-term, to be able to generate leads for your business.
Yeah. One last thing. This is on topic, but a little like disconnected. So I'm just going to show and tell you guys again, like if you're on the video portion of this, you're getting a special treat today. This is how powerful AI is in everyday life, not just what we're talking about here in marketing, but the fact that it can literally take so many things out of the equation. So I have quite a few tattoos on my body, right? And typically what I do is I go to my tattoo artist and I have him sketch out, design what I'm wanting, what I'm thinking about, and then he'll, kind of craft it together as part of the artistry, and then stencil it, put it on my arm, and then actually like basically trace it, which there's an art form to it, but it's still tracing it, right? So I tested this out with my wife, and long story short, I'm allergic. There's 2 things I'm definitely allergic to: strawberries and bee stings. And she wanted to get a tattoo that was those 2 combined. And just for me, right? So we go to ChatGPT and have it designed. We gave it several prompts, and it spit out an amazing design. And then 2 weeks later, she goes to the tattoo artist, gives him the design, and my artist almost cried, because he's like, this could be like the end of the way that we think of tattoos. Like, I've never seen this before. And it came out beautifully. Then I try it out. So this is where you guys are going to get a treat here. So I try it out
on a much bigger scale. And I had several prompts go, like, I probably went back and forth maybe 10, 12 times to get this design down. But this design right here, I don't know if you guys are on video, you can see this. This wolf right here with the mountains all the way with the trees, 100% AI designed by ChatGPT.
It's amazing.
100%. And you think my tattoo artist is going to freak out about that? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because the next phase of this is now we'll have robotics that are actually doing the like on the arm, right? So like there's phases to this, but guys, there's the what we're talking about, it's real, it's powerful. We just showed it to you on my arm, but in the case study that I showed you, like as soon as people and users start to realize that they can go 100% to AI for the exact answer that they're looking for and end up on a solution like that, they're not going to scroll through the options. And Matt, when I had that pulled up after I unshared it, it only gave 3 options.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't give any other, just 3 options. And then it said below, like, make sure you read reviews and that sort of thing. But this is the truth in it. So, man, this has been a riveting, mind-blowing episode for me to work on with you. And I appreciate you bringing everything that you did. And I'll probably have you back again soon once you have more of this experience under your belt, because I'd love to see where it's taking you as well. So
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you for having me, Josh. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, hopefully you took away a lot. I know I did, but thank you so much for joining and listening today. Matt, I do want to give you the opportunity real quick. If somebody did want to connect with you, learn more about what you have going on, what would be the best way to make that happen?
Yeah, definitely. So you can email me. So my email is Matt, M-A-T-T, at reibarmarketing.com. So it's R-E-I-B-A-R marketing.com. Obviously, you can check out our website at reibarmarketing.com as well. We do SEO and web design for real estate investors. And so love to be able to help you guys out. And Josh, I appreciate, you just having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, you guys make sure you go check that out. All of that's going to be linked down in the description below in the show notes. So make sure you do go connect with them. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the show and share this around with your friends if you believe that they need more help with their marketing and branding for their real estate investing organizations. Thank you guys for joining and listening today, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.